Okay, today we're going to talk about the African growth. We're going to analyze how Africa is developing and growing. Well, first we have to clear that Africa is one of the poorest, is the poorest continent in the world and the most undeveloped. And the educational system is collapsed, and then another of the biggest problems is malnutrition and racism. But Mauritius, Botswana, and South Africa are the countries that are most developed and are growing. So we're going to talk about more about these countries. And another problem about African growth is the brutal dictators that they have had. Well, this is a picture of a little kid in Africa, and as you can see, this kid suffers from malnutrition and every year die like 3.5 to 5 million kids in Africa of malnutrition. And these are like the soldier kids. For example, in Sierra Leone or in Somalia, there are a lot of them because they have like no opportunity in life. Well, the breaking out the low growth syndrome. That's like, for example, the people that wants to have more money and have a very good job. That's a very difficult task in Africa, but it's the only real possibility to develop the growth of Africa. And for example, Mauritius, Botswana, and Seychelles, and South Africa, they are the countries that are developing more like the work and having and giving the people more money so that they can survive. And one thing that the leaders, that the people in Africa need is a leader, because that's the only way to success. Because the people is like confused, they don't know what to do, and with a leader, they will know what to do and follow a good way.
Well, as Luciano said, Mauritius, Botswana, Seychelles, and South Africa are the most developed countries. They have an increase of 3% in the economy per year. That's similar to what we have in Mexico, so it's pretty good for an African country. And as Luciano said, we think the main factor in growing is the leaders. We have a good example of a leader and a bad example. We are going to talk about actual leaders. For example, Robert Mugabe is the Zimbabwean president. He was imprisoned for opposing the white rule back when it was South Rhodesia. And when the country gained the independence, England named him a knight, and he won the elections, and then he was president, and he was like a symbol for hope. He started building schools, clinics, and roads, but as Luciano said, the educational system is collapsed, and he had not the preparation for being the leader he needed to be, and he went mad with all the mines and gold and racial problems. And he started to be very intolerant, and in the 1980s he started to massacre the biggest massacre was in the Bele tribe in the 1980s, but he's still in the power, and he said a year ago that only God could remove him from power, so he's gonna stay there until he dies, and killing everyone, and killing every opposition he faces. And Zimbabwe has now an inflation of 100,000%, and 8 out of 10 persons are unemployed. And we are going to talk about Mauritius president, it's Amirul Jufna. He was also named a knight by the Queen Elizabeth II, and he's considered the father of Mauritian economy. He swept in power in 1982, when Mauritius was facing a very bad crisis. And bueno, he made a duty-free zone, and that was named an economical miracle because in Mauritius they did a lot of factories and they became industrialized, and every country wanted to go to buy because they didn't need to pay taxes, so it was very cheap, and that made Mauritius an economic power in Africa. And then when they were industrialized, they focused in tourism. This is a resort in Mauritius, and bueno, this was possible because the president accepted the help of America and England. Here's a photo with Bush. This is an Argentina and President Bush. And bueno, this is a contrast between a mine in Zimbabwe and a mine in Mauritius. So they accepted help, they went industrialized, and they are now one of the African's power. And this is a Zimbabwe mine where the dictator is only criticizing American capitalism, but you can see the difference between two countries. No? And bueno, Africa, we said it's the poorest continent in the world, but that's not entirely true, because they have a lot of natural resources, but because of the lack of education, it's the resource curse. So people are not prepared to face the African problems. So when they see all the metals, minerals, diamond, gold, and everything they have, when they get the power, they will explode everything and do everything they can to get rich, and they don't face the real problems.
So as conclusion, as we said, what Africa needs is a real leader to make the economical and social Africa grow. So, well, the main point that we spoke is the leaders. Africa needs leaders to make to move the African economy and the education too, because the education in Africa is collapsed, and they need people who think more and to exploit the resources. And another important factor is the help from the more developed countries like Germany, England, or the United States. So these are for us. These are the main factors to make the Africa grow.